Please adhere to YouTube's selected guidelines before viewing the content of this video. I do not encourage or condone any products, actions, or behaviors shown in this video. All videos are produced in a safe, professional, and controlled environment. Please do not attempt to replicate any actions performed during the video. All actions are performed by professionals.
Alright, so today I'm going to be smoking and reviewing the Dunhill Insignia Red cigarettes from Brazil, which I don't know a lot about, but which I have heard some claims in regards to. I have heard that these may very well be a medium to full strength smoke, and I have heard that the Dunhill Insignia Reds may very well be a rebrand of an old variety of cigarettes from an old brand of Brazilian cigarettes called Free. Now, I don't know how true either of those claims actually are, but what I do know is that these cigarettes right here were made in Uberlandia in Brazil by British American Tobacco, and I do know that I am quite excited to give these a go for the very first time today, and to find out just how they are, what they're like, and what I think of them. How will the Dunhill Insignia Red cigarettes from Brazil actually be? Will I enjoy them? I don't know, but I'm looking forward to finding out. Let me tell y'all what. I do suppose without further ado, I should probably go ahead and quickly cover the packaging after I thank the sponsor of today's video, that is. But after I thank the sponsor of today's video, I should probably go ahead and get to covering the packaging of this pack right here. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and get the cellophane all off. I'm going to go and get the pack all opened up and let you guys know just what the cigarettes inside the pack actually look like, what they feel like, and what the quality of them is like. Then after that, I'm going to go ahead and get to smoking and find out just how these cigarettes actually are. And once I'm done smoking and once I've gotten my fill of nicotine, I will then give you guys my final thoughts on this pack and give the Dunhill Insignia Red cigarettes from Brazil a rating as well. But first off, as said, before we cover the packaging of these cigarettes, I first off need to thank the sponsor of today's video, who is me. That's right, I'm the sponsor of today's video, as my new poetry book, Poems to Read While Smoking Cigarettes, is out and available now. You can purchase it on Amazon for $14.99, and if you guys want to read the absolute best book of poems to read while smoking cigarettes, well, look no further, this is the book for you. The poems within this book, they're not good poems, but they are good poems to read while smoking cigarettes, and if you guys are interested in purchasing my new poetry book, I do highly recommend you do so. Links to it are down in the description and comments down below. Make sure to check those links out if you guys want to pick up my new poetry book. But now with the sponsored segment of this video all done, without further ado, let's go ahead and cover the packaging of the Dunhill Insignia Red cigarettes from Brazil. Starting off with, I think, the shape of the packaging. We can see that this is a king-size pack, and overall it's got a pretty normal shape for a king-size pack of cigarettes. That is until we take a look at the corners. These cigarettes do not have a hard corner on the pack, nor do they have a round corner on the pack. Instead, they have a little bit of a soft corner on the pack, as we can see. It's not quite as hard as a hard corner. It's not quite as round as a round corner pack. This is a little bit softer than not. This is a soft corner pack of cigarettes, and that is something that is worth mentioning, as it's not something you see terribly often all the time around the world, I will acknowledge. But it is something that I have seen, I think, once or twice here in Brazil. Let's go ahead and move on to the actual design of the pack, though, and we can see in the top 75% of the front of the pack, we get the actual Dunhill Insignia Red, just sort of design and everything like that. But in the bottom 25%, we get a standardized Brazilian warning label that is separated from the design by this black line right here. And then we go to a little bit of a red, a little bit of yellow, and then a little bit of a white background. On this white background, it basically just says, hey, go to this QR code or call this number for a quit smoking line and everything like that kind of thing. On the yellow, it basically just says smoking is dangerous, and on the red, it just says that this product may cause addiction. And that's pretty much all that's going on with the Brazilian warning label right here. So let's go ahead and move on to the actual design itself. We can see, as far as background goes, we get a pretty, I would have to say, basic, dull, sort of gold-colored background. No sort of color change going on. It's not a bad-looking background by any means, but there's just really not a lot going on, I will acknowledge. I do think that is by design. One of Dunhill's sort of design philosophies, in my personal opinion, is elegance through simplicity, and I definitely do think they're doing a decent job with that with this pack of cigarettes right here. Not quite as good of a job as with the Dunhill International Reds, in my personal opinion, as those truly are elegance and class through simplicity, but they're definitely going for the same sort of design style with this pack as well, to an extent, I will acknowledge. We can see there's some designs over here, another design right there, and of course right here on a more bold sort of ribbon stretching across that does stretch to the side just a little bit of the packaging right there. On this more sort of bold metallic gold, we can see the Dunhill logo itself right there in the standard classic Dunhill font. Overall, it looks pretty nice. It's just in black text with no sort of drop shadow, no sort of shading or anything like that kind of thing, but it's the classic Dunhill logo and Dunhill text, and that is all embossed as well. Overall, looks very solid in my personal opinion. Under the Dunhill logo text itself, we then get some more text in black, and that just says established 1907, and that's really all it says on the label itself. Now, this label does have a little bit of a drop shadow to it, a little bit more of a dull gold drop shadow to it that just, I would have to say, exemplifies the label just a little bit, as we can see on the bottom and on this side right here, and kind of underneath the Dunhill sort of design and gold label right here, we can see there's a little bit of a square on its side, kind of almost looking like a diamond, but it's not really a diamond because diamonds have like longer like tops and bottoms, whereas this is more of a square that's on its sort of corners like a diamond, I think is really the right way of putting it. But we can see this square right here, and this square does also have soft corners to it, so that's a nice thing to see, I will acknowledge, because this pack has soft corners. This has soft corners. That is a nice little bit of a design reference, I will acknowledge. Don't know if that was intentional, but it would be pretty cool if it was. And we can see that this square itself is all made up of a, I would have to say, just thin red sort of color scheme, I would say. It doesn't come across as being a particularly bold red by any means. One, I think because the background is kind of a dull color, I will acknowledge, and two, just because the lines are just that thin. But taking a look up here, we can see it's cut off just a little bit by the warning label on this side, but it just says Dunhill Tobacco right there, and then right here it just says of London, and then it says something else, 1907, just right there. And then on the inside of this outer square, we get another little bit of a square that does have hard corners, and there's a little bit of another square right there, and another one right there, and then right here we get what looks like some sort of bridge or something like that kind of thing, or some sort of arch, and it just says St. James Street, London, SWI, just right there, which I believe was the street that the Dunhill tobacconist was originally founded on. I might very well be wrong, do correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that is the reference they're trying to make with that. They're really trying to make it sound fancy, luxury, exotic. When in fact this pack of cigarettes is made in Brazil. So to anybody from Brazil, to Brazilian consumers, this is not very exotic by any means. It's just a higher end nameplate, quite possibly, but even then I didn't really notice Dunhill's being that much more expensive than some other nameplates from Brazil, I will acknowledge. So I don't know if Dunhill really holds the same sort of classy luxury sort of market segment that it holds in the United States and in some other areas of the world. I do know Dunhill in many countries is just a standard brand. It's not like it's a classy thing or anything like that kind of thing, whereas in the United States, Dunhill is Dunhill kind of thing. But yeah, that's very much the design we're getting over here. And below all of that, we can see there's a little bit of black text right here. It just says Insignia, just in that black text. Then we get 4 dots, and then it just says red right there in that red text. And that's really all that's going on the front of this pack. Really nothing too crazy by any means. Pretty simple design, but some nice references to other parts of the packaging. And there is one thing I forgot to mention. Yes, this square right here does stretch around to the top of the packaging. So yes, the design does kind of stretch around the packaging just a little bit, which is something that I do appreciate seeing. But overall, pretty simple, pretty basic design. I wouldn't really call this design elegant by any means, but they're definitely going for a more classy look than not with this sort of design, in my personal opinion. Without further ado, let's go ahead and move on to this side of the pack. We can see a warning label just covering up the entirety of this side. It has a toxic warning down here, and then on the red it just says don't sell this pack of cigarettes to anybody under the age of 18, and it just says that tobacco and nicotine contains toxic substances known to cause cancer. On the back, it just has a little bit of a graphic warning label, somebody with their normal eye right there, and then their eye all messed up with maybe a cataract or something like that in it. Just says desespero anvisa adverte este producto causo canguria. I'm going to assume cataract. So they're saying that that this product causes cataracts, I believe. And then it just says Producto Toxico. There's a little bit more text right there that just reads Per de fumar en cuento consig ver isso. I don't know exactly what that says. I don't have a translator with me today, but I'm sure that says something. But I think they're really trying to imply that cigarettes cause cataracts. I've never heard that before, I'll acknowledge, but hey, I could be wrong. Maybe cigarettes do cause cataracts. Wouldn't the health and safety sector of a government know better than some guy on the internet? I'm thinking it's quite possible, but either way, this is not going to stop me from smoking cigarettes by any means. And yep, that's all there is to the back of the packaging. Without further ado, let's go and move on to this side now. We can see this side has a background of that dull gold. There's the barcode down there, Brazilian tax stamp right up here as well. And between the Brazilian tax stamp and the barcode right there, we get in red the British American Tobacco logo right there. They've got a little bit of a call line, and it just says Industria Brasileira, which just means made in Brazil essentially. And then under that it just says 20 cigarettes, just letting us know how many cigarettes are actually in the pack. And that's really all that's going on this side. Moving on to the top, we can see a miniaturized and simplified design of the front right here. So we can see the gold label is still very much there, with the Dunhill text still very much being embossed, and we can see the Insignia Red text as well right there as well, but no other details going on besides this little red stretching over from the front of the packaging right here. That's all that's going on with the top. Moving on to the bottom, we can see a little bit different. We still get that sort of dull gold background, but we have the Dunhill text itself in red in cursive this time around, which looks pretty nice in my personal opinion. And we get some information below it and to the side of it as well. Below it, it just says fabricated by Souza Cruz Ltd, which is the Brazilian subsidiary of British American Tobacco. Technically, Souza Cruz is not actually called Souza Cruz anymore today. They did rebrand Souza Cruz into British American Tobacco Brazil, from what I know, but they're keeping the name Souza Cruz on packs of cigarettes to make sure that they keep the sort of brand recognizability going, which does make a lot of sense, I will acknowledge. Just says, oh man, what does that say? The plastic's kind of covering it, but it just says like Dunhill Tobacco of London Limited, something like that. Just says Fabrica Uberlandia, which just means like made in Uberlandia, which is a city in Brazil, north of me where I am in Florianopolis right now. And then it just says ingredients under that as well. Just says tobacco, sugars, adhesives, I believe like flame agents, combustion agents, cigarette paper, tintas, I don't know what tintas is, and humectants. And that's what it says on the bottom of the packaging, just right here. But there's a little bit more information right here as well. And that just reads the date of production and the date of expiry, or like the best before date. So it just says that this pack was made on the 2nd of March, 2026, and it's going to expire on the 28th of February, 2027. I'm sure this pack will be perfectly fine after that as well, but that's what they're saying on the bottom of the pack. And yeah, that's all that's going on with the packaging for the Dunhill Insignia Reds. Really nothing too crazy by any means, I will acknowledge. And yeah, overall, it's decent packaging, nothing insane by any means. I wouldn't say this is my favorite packaging to ever exist, because it's certainly not. I definitely do have packaging that I like much more than this pack right here, but overall, it's a decent look. They're trying to go for the whole sort of elegant, classy thing with this pack, but it doesn't work to the same degree as some other packs of Dunhills that I've seen before. But overall, not a bad look in my personal opinion, and it's gotten me hyped up to get it all opened up. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get it all opened up and see what the quality of the packaging is like just real quick. Let's go and get the cellophane off, the top and the bottom, and put that plastic wrap, put that cellophane in my backpack, because I don't want to be littering or anything like that. Overall, texture-wise, it very much feels like printed paperboard. I will acknowledge, really no texture differentiations going on the pack itself or anything like that kind of thing. Quality-wise, I do generally find soft packs of cigarettes to be slightly lower quality than hard packs, and that's kind of what I'm seeing with this pack as well. But overall, the quality is perfectly fine, I will acknowledge. It's not bad by any means, and overall, does this pack look better with the cellophane off than on? It certainly does, as is the case with just about 100% 100% of cigarettes. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this pack all opened up now, and let's see. Oh, do I need to peel the warning label, or not the warning label, the tax stamp, because it doesn't actually have a cut on it. Like for Philip Morris and Japan Tobacco products, they've been cutting that, but no, not for this. Let's see, do I need to cut it? I'm just gonna peel it. I'm just gonna peel this off and put this in my backpack just so I don't break my pack trying to peel that off or anything like that kind of thing. So I've just peeled it off. We're all good now. And now let's go ahead and get this all opened up. On the inside of the pack, we see no details, just some sort of overspray. I say overspray like this is a car being painted, but just some sort of overprint, I do suppose really the right way of putting it. And then on the inside, we can see just a normal basic white cigarette insert right there with some white cigarette paper. And the cigarette paper itself, it's hard to tell if there's actually a design going on with it. Let me pull it out real quick and I'll take a closer look. Let's see. Oh man, it's taking a moment for me to get out. Ooh, that definitely had some resistance to it, I will acknowledge. Let's take a look. Any sort of a design to this? Nope, it's literally just white cigarette paper. The design that I thought I was seeing was actually the design of the cigarette filters shining through. And we can see the cigarette filters right there. Let's go ahead and get one of these out real quick. We do have a little bit of a white filter for these cigarettes, so I'm not expecting the most full-flavored cigarette in the world by any means, but of course, that is, excuse me, let me take a sip of water real quick. What was that? Oh my goodness. Got something in my throat. The fact that a cigarette has a cork-style filter is not an immediate signifier that it will be a strong, full-flavored cigarette, I do want to acknowledge. One of the strongest full-flavored cigarettes I've ever tried does indeed have a white filter. The Peace Yellow Pack, the Peace filtered cigarettes from Japan have a white filter, but they still contain like a crazy amount of nicotine and tar and everything like that kind of thing. They're one of the strongest cigarettes I have ever tried in regards to normal filtered cigarettes. And those have a white filter, so these could very well be extremely strong, I will acknowledge. But yes, we can see these cigarettes do have a little bit of a white filter, just making them look a little bit more elegant than not, I will acknowledge. But nonetheless, even with the white filter, we do still, at the very bottom of it, get just a little bit of a red band right there, just letting us know exactly which variety of the Dunhill Insignia line these cigarettes are actually a part of, which is something that I do appreciate. These are the Dunhill Insignia Reds, and so we get a little bit of a red line right there, and since this is a pack of reds, I am hoping these are a bit more full-flavored than not, because I do like my full-flavored cigarettes. Let's go ahead and actually take a look at the design on the filter, though. We can see we get sort of a, I would have to say, square diamond design going on in gold, I would say. In the center right here, we can see the Dunhill sort of name itself spelled out in cursive as we saw on the bottom of the pack. And surrounding it, we can see sort of a bunch of square geometric designs and everything like that kind of thing, just kind of going all the way around, I will acknowledge. It's kind of designed for design's sake, but it is reminiscent of the square on the front of the pack, so I do like that continuity going on, but in my opinion, it's kind of just designed for design's sake, I'll acknowledge. The design doesn't really mean anything, it's just there to make the cigarette look a little bit more interesting than it would otherwise be, and that is no issue at all. There is something to be said for that, I will acknowledge, but that's very much what the design of the filter is like. Really nothing too crazy, nothing too complex by any means. As far as perforation on the filter, there is one line of perforation with more dots than not, more little perforation holes than not, but the holes are not super big, so I do expect this to be more so than not probably just a normal full-flavored cigarette, I will acknowledge. But one thing that does make me a little bit worried in that regard is that apparently there is a pack of Dunhill Insignias that are even stronger than these. There's a pack of Dunhill Insignia Full Reds, I think they're called, that are even stronger than these. So I am thinking that this may be more of a medium cigarette than a true full-strength cigarette, but we'll find out in just a couple minutes. Below the filter, though, we just go to a normal white cigarette paper, and that just has horizontal lines going all the way down. And yeah, that's really the look of the cigarette. Nothing too crazy going on. A nice, decent look kind of thing. It looks a little bit elegant, looks a little bit classy, but more so than not, the design on the filter is kind of just designed for design's sake, I will acknowledge. It doesn't look bad by any means, though. Taking a look at the blend, we get very much that of a medium blend, in my personal opinion, and smelling this cigarette, it's pretty mild. I'm going to go ahead and get another cigarette out just real quick, just to get a little bit more of an intense smell. And I would say right out of the pack, I'm getting say chocolate nutty scent, sweet chocolate nutty scent, a little bit of creaminess in there. Overall, smells very much like other Brazilian cigarettes I've tried so far, I will acknowledge. I want to clarify, big tobacco made Brazilian cigarettes I've tried so far. But yeah, overall, more chocolatey scent than not. Once again, very much that of a, I would have to say, medium blend. I would have to say these are probably more like a medium bright blend, I wouldn't call them a medium light blend, but a medium bright blend, because some of the tobacco is quite bright, I will acknowledge. So I think a medium bright blend is really the right descriptor. But yeah, sort of a little bit of a creamy scent with a little bit of nuttiness and a little bit of chocolate is kind of what I'm getting from the Dunhill Insignia Reds. Well, I'm going to go and try to put one of these cigarettes back in the pack real quick, and I do suppose without further ado, it is now time for me to go ahead and get my lighter out of my pocket, and it's time for me to go ahead and get my ashtray all opened up so we can go and actually get to smoking the Dunhill Insignia Reds for the very first time and find out just how they actually are, what they're actually like, and what I personally think of them. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get this cigarette right here all lit up, and let's go ahead and get smoking. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying? And right off the bat, flavor's decent. Flavor's pretty good, in fact. Quality seems to be good, flavor-wise, right off the bat. The draw, is that of, I would say, a medium satisfying draw, in my personal opinion. And these are quite smooth as well. Like, right off the bat, initially, I'm getting the impression that there's a little bit of nicotine in this cigarette for sure, but they're very smooth, and that is due to the medium draw, in my personal opinion. The perforation, it doesn't really make the smoke itself come across as being more airy while you're actually smoking and inhaling and everything like that kind of thing, and instead it seems to be more along the lines of something that just makes the draw a little bit heavier than not, making you have a little bit of a satisfying pull, a little bit of a satisfying draw, I will acknowledge. Let's go and test the body real quick though. And the body, I gotta admit, decently sized by all means. Very decently sized by all means. Surprisingly dense body, and I would have to say a pretty decently sized body as well. Yeah, not the densest body I've ever seen, and not the biggest either, but overall, surprisingly dense and surprisingly big for what I'm getting smoothness-wise from this cigarette, I will acknowledge. This is a very smooth cigarette right off the bat. Airflow-wise, I would have to say the airflow is perfectly fine, but definitely the draw is more of a medium to heavy draw than not. And I would have to say, roughness and smoothness-wise, I mean, like, these are pretty smooth. These are like a 5 or a 6 out of 10 in my personal opinion. You can definitely tell they're a little bit stronger than not, and so there's a little bit of roughness kind of to them due to that. But they do, I will acknowledge, they do have a much more intense smoothness to them than not. And I would have to say a 5 or a 6 out of 10 is pretty good roughness and smoothness-wise for these, although they might get a little bit rougher towards the very bottom. And strength-wise, it's hard to tell right now just because I haven't finished off this cigarette yet. But flavor-wise, I would say the flavor I'm getting, just to speak on it roughly, I'm going to have a second cigarette, and with that second cigarette, I'm going to really try to think about the flavor a little bit more. But just roughly speaking, right off the bat, nutty, creamy, coca-like taste. The flavor of chocolate itself is a little bit in there, and I'm getting a little bit of dark chocolate for sure. But interestingly enough, even though there is a little bit of a creamy flavor, I'm not really getting any flavor of like milk chocolate. Usually with a creamy, chocolatey flavor, I'm getting either just straight milk chocolate or a mix of milk chocolate and dark chocolate. With this, on the other hand, it's really just dark chocolate with creaminess. I'm not really getting any sort of a milk chocolate flavor, which is very interesting. That may change as I continue smoking, but that's kind of what I'm getting right now. So yeah, a little bit of nuttiness, a little bit of creaminess, a little bit of dark chocolate, coca sort of flavor. Overall, yeah, not bad by any means. You can definitely tell the flavor of these cigarettes is definitely, and the sweetness of them, these definitely have a little bit of sweetness to them, for sure. You can definitely tell there is added flavoring, for sure. I'm not getting any sort of an icky sort of chemical or paper flavor or additive flavor or anything like that kind of thing, but you can definitely tell that there is absolutely no question in my mind some added flavor in there. And if I had to hazard a guess, that's probably an added flavor of a little bit of chocolate kind of thing. That's just kind of how it's coming across to me, and a little bit of an added sweetness as well, in my personal opinion. This blend tastes much more burley forward than not, but due to the fact that the added flavoring sort of flavor is a little bit intense, it's kind of hard to tell what the true actual blend of this cigarette is. But overall, I think I've got one more hit left, so I think I'll go and take that. And I've got to admit, my first experience with the Dunhill Insignia Reds, not bad by any means. I would definitely have to say calling these a medium to full strength cigarette is about right. I'm definitely feeling a little bit buzzed right now, and I would say these are of equivalent strength to something like, let's say, the Camel Yellows in Brazil, along with the, I would have to say, Rothman Reds. So actually, I would say a little bit lighter than the Rothman Reds, and a little bit lighter than the Marlboro Reds as well, but about on the same strength level as something like, let's say, Camel Yellows, in my personal opinion. Very much that of a full-strength cigarette, but more of a medium full-strength cigarette, not a truly, like, really strong, kick-your-ass full-strength cigarette. It's a full-strength, don't get me wrong, but it's not, like, insanely strong. I would have to say roughness and smoothness-wise, the Dunhill Insignia Reds, it's that of a 6 out of 10, roughness and smoothness-wise, and strength-wise, I would have to say it's right around a 7 out of 10. I'm going to go ahead and take a sip of water real quick, and we're going to get back to smoking, though, and we're going to have another one of these Dunhill Insignia Reds. Overall, so far, my impression of them is that they're decent. They're not bad cigarettes by any means. There's nothing about them that makes me go, wow. They're nothing crazy, but they're not bad. They're decent quality smokes that I can see myself enjoying the rest of the pack of, I will acknowledge. But they're nothing insane by any means. They are full-flavored cigarettes. They get the job done and taste good while doing so, but they're nothing that really makes me go, wow. They're not something that I'm like, whoa, this is like crazy. This is something insanely new. It's a full-flavored cigarette that is pretty solid, and that's kind of how they are, I will acknowledge. Let's go ahead and get the pack all opened up once again, though, and let's have another one of these Dunhill Insignia Reds, though. And let's see what the flavor is really like. Maybe there'll be some wow flavor that I notice with the next cigarette. We will find out. Without further ado, let's go and get back to smoking, and let's grab myself a little bit of a thumbnail for the video as well. Well, hopefully one of those will work as a thumbnail for the video. We will find out. Overall, flavor-wise, I'm getting more of the same, but I will take some hits differently. I'll do some retrohale. I'll hit it like a cigar just to see if I notice anything else. And yeah, on the retrohale, I definitely notice a lot more creaminess, I would say. It's kind of like a slight vanilla, sugary sort of cream, almost like a sort of very sweet sort of almond milk. It's like a sweet vanilla almond milk, sort of nutty creaminess, I would say, is really the right way of putting it. And then there's an undertone of a bitter dark chocolate. So really the sweetness is coming from the sort of nutty, sort of milky flavor, I would have to say, yeah, the sweet, nutty, milky sort of almond milk vanilla flavor is where the sweetness of the cigarette is coming from. And then you get an undertone of a bitter dark chocolate, I would say. Yeah. Yeah. Let's hit it like a cigar real quick. And when hitting it like a cigar, I definitely got a little bit of spice from that dark chocolate, I will acknowledge. A little bit of a papery flavor. I am, as I continue smoking, just noticing a little bit of a papery flavor as well. Yeah. These are nothing crazy. Just saying it straight up. These are nothing crazy kind of thing. The blend is what I have experienced from Brazilian cigarettes previously. To an extent, of course, this is slightly different from everything I've tried prior to this point when it comes to Brazilian cigarettes, I will acknowledge. But it is nothing insanely different. It's nothing insanely different. But it's different enough. It's different enough to keep me interested for these few smokes, I will acknowledge. Yeah. Yeah. There's a little bit different from cigarettes I've tried from Brazil so far, blend and flavor-wise, but more so than not, it is pretty standard. Nothing too crazy going on, I'll just be straight with y'all. For sure though, no question, these are definitely a medium to full flavored cigarette. They're not like super strong. This is something I could chain smoke if I wanted to, but I don't really want to. Not today, at least. Maybe once I get a little bit of alcohol in my system a little bit later on today, I'll want to chain smoke some of these. Not right now though, not right now though. I'm pretty content just having two. But yeah, the quality of these, the more I smoke, the more I notice a little bit of a papery flavor and a little bit of sort of an off-putting flavor, I'll acknowledge. I'm not getting a sort of icky chemical or additive flavor in there, but just the fact that there's so much added flavor in there with that chocolate flavor being added, in my personal opinion, it does add up over time and just get a bit overwhelming in my personal opinion, especially when you smoke two back-to-back. With one cigarette, it's fine, but with two back-to-back, you do definitely notice that. And overall, meh, they're okay. They're all right. And I think that was all I had to my second cigarette. Go ahead and stub that out in my ashtray real quick. And I'm going to put the lid on my ashtray and whatnot. And let's go ahead and talk now about the flavor of the Dunhill Insignia Reds cigarettes fully. So what is the flavor of the Dunhill Insignia Reds cigarettes actually like? Well, overall, I would have to say you get that of a slightly sweet, bitter flavor overall, much more of a savory flavor than not, with undertones of, I would have to say, most intensely, especially since I smoked two back-to-back, that of a, I would have to say, slightly sweet, creamy, milky, nutty, sort of milky flavor. And that's very much the flavor I get, just right off the bat kind of thing. And then under that, there is as well an equally intense, sort of bitter, dark chocolate flavor that, depending on how you hit the cigarette, you can get a little bit of spice from. So overall, the flavor of the Dunhill Insignia Red cigarettes from Brazil, in my personal opinion, is that of a, yeah, I would say, I'm going to actually have to say that the most prominent flavor is that, especially with the aftertaste, I'm going to have to say the most prominent flavor is that of a sort of added flavoring, bitter, dark chocolate with a little bit of nutty sweetness to it, and a little bit of a paper taste. And then under that, you get, I would have to say, a sweet, creamy, milky, nutty, sort of almost vanilla almond milk flavor kind of thing. Is that really the right way of putting it? It's just sort of, yeah, bitter, dark chocolate, a little bit of nutty sweetness to that, and I would have to say, a little bit of paper flavor, and you can just definitely tell that there has been added flavor going on with these cigarettes. And then after that, you sort of get a little bit of a sweet-ish, creamy, nutty flavor as well. and I would have to say that's very much what the flavor of the Dunhill Insignia Reds actually is like. The quality of the Dunhill Insignia Reds, it's not like they're truly bad quality cigarettes by any means, but the quality of them is just alright. I did notice a little bit of a papery flavor, I will acknowledge, and I also did notice just that added sort of flavoring going on kind of thing. Which just over the course of 2 cigarettes became a little bit too much for me. Just smoking one and being done, I didn't really notice all that much sort of added flavor going on. It was there a little bit, but not really all that significant, I will acknowledge. However, definitely with 2, I absolutely did notice a little bit of that added flavor going on. Overall, I'd have to say these are okay quality cigarettes, and while I'm going to enjoy smoking the rest of this pack, I can't see myself buying these again in the future. They're just alright, I'll acknowledge, and for that reason, I'm gonna have to give them just an alright rating of a 5 out of 10. These are just okay. They're just alright. They are probably the weakest out of all of the Brazilian cigarettes I have tried so far, but I haven't minded trying them today, and I'm very glad that I did give them a go, and I'm very glad that I did give them a little bit of a review, I will acknowledge. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of the Dunhill Insignia Reds. Am I right? Am I wrong? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and also make sure to check out my new poetry book, Poems to Read While Smoking Cigarettes. Make sure to go check it out if y'all are interested. Links are in the description and comments down below, of course. Appreciate all y'all watching this video today. Hope you guys have enjoyed watching. If you guys have, of course, like, subscribe, check out all of my other videos, and until the next one, y'all, stay safe and peace, and have a great one.